Many people believe that if they go to a seminar, they're going to learn a system. And in many, many cases, that is exactly the case. But there are problems with trading systems. One of them is that they're very limited. Limitation is not what we want to deal with. Limited means they have a fixed set of rules, and those fixed set of rules are running into an ever-changing set of conditions called the market. So you can't actually really have a trading system that utilizes the Sqaure Principle, because the Sqaure Principle isn't fixed. It isn't something that is clashing with the ever-changing nature of the market like a system is. A system has a set of rules, it has a set of conditions it's looking for, and so on. But when those conditions are fulfilled, the system is going to dictate what you do and how long you stay in a trade and how you manage that trade. The market is going to change its conditions so that the system can't keep up with the continuous changes in the market. And this is the downfall of systems. So you could use a system and try to keep updating it with what the latest things the market is doing is, and make sure that you're doing those things. But I think you know that that really doesn't work over time. And systems themselves are extremely fragile when it comes to the point that the market is constantly changing what it does. So that the Sqaure Principle that I'm going to teach you is not a trading system. It doesn't come with a, always buy when this happens, or always sell half your position at this point. And it doesn't do that because the market isn't fixed and the Sqaure Principle isn't fixed either. So each time you take a trade with the Sqaure Principle, we'll show you how we utilize the Sqaure Principle to trade, but there's many, many other ways you could utilize it. The most important part, though, is that you know what the market is likely going to do under that set of conditions. Now, the set of conditions that we had on this week, which was over here on the left, on the week of May 9th, this particular set of conditions, if you think about it, has never happened before. You can go back to the start of the markets, and I assure you, will have never seen the set of conditions that led up to this forecast. It has never happened. Oh, and there's another thing. This set of conditions that happened on Monday, May 9th, will never happen again. The return of the baby Jesus will occur prior to this set of conditions ever happening again. It will never happen again. So how are you going to use a system if this piece of movement never is going to happen again, and what they did today is never going to happen again? A system is trying to corral the market down to something that is going to happen again, but it isn't. And that's why systems struggle so much with the market. Now, what if I was a person, and in the past, people that wore a green shirt always seemed nice to me. So I would make a rule that says, anytime you see a person in a green shirt, just say good morning, because people in green shirts are pretty nice to you. So I'm living my life, and no matter where I am, the rule is if I see somebody in a green shirt, I say good morning. Well, but what if it's nighttime? Well, then we have to modify that rule, don't we? We have to say, well, if you like people in green shirts and they've been nice to you in the past, then whenever you see a person in a green shirt in the morning or in the evening, then you say good morning to them. But if it's evening, then you say good evening to them. Okay, that's great. But then when I see somebody in the afternoon, I have to modify that rule to make sure that I'm saying it properly, like good afternoon. And the rule and the list goes on. Something as simple as that, you have to keep modifying it just to fix that, simple set of conditions. The market is much more complex than that set of conditions. And that again is why using a system is not what is going to make you successful in the market. Let me give you one other example that'll be much closer to home so you can really recognize this. Most people, and I'm sure you are true, this is true of you. Do you know how to ride a bike? Okay. If you know how to ride a bike, you know that there are three main things that make riding a bike possible. Thing number one is well, there's actually more than three, but you have to have a bike. The bike has to be in motion. You have to steer the bike, and you have to balance. Now, imagine trying to write a book on all of the varying rules that a person would have to follow in order to ride a bike if he was reading a book on how to ride a bike, right? It would be really difficult to get those rules down and to have them make sense in all conditions, because the conditions are going to change. So the better way to have somebody be successful riding a bike is not to give them a big book of rules, because it's really hard to absorb all those rules. It's really hard to remember all those rules. And it's always going to be different when you ride the bike each and different time. So it's much better to say, here's the nature of how bikes work. Here's how balance works. And when you're in motion, you'll sense your own balance, and you can start to learn to turn, slow down, speed up, and so on the bike. You've just thrown out years of writing rules for books that are about riding a bike. It's like that with the market. So I really want to stress to you today the importance of understanding that your future success in markets will not have anything to do with a system. And in fact, it'll have everything to do with riding a bike. It'll have everything to do with understanding the nature of the bike and of movement, which is the market. These are analogies, and being able to ride it, to understand it, as opposed to constantly trying to wrangle the market down to a few sets of rules.